Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sydney Morgan. If you're new here, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, you subscribe so you know when I come out with new videos, and in the comments let me know what you think about the case or just say hi. In 1988, a drug addict named Irene May lived in a trailer with a woman named Kerrydalton who was also an addict. Kerry claimed that Irene was stealing her jewelry and selling it so that she could get money to buy more drugs. Kerry says that one day she emptied out Irene's purse and she found some of the stolen jewelry. So she was immediately pissed off and she told Irene that she was going to have to do more chores and work around the house so that she could make up for what she had done. And when I was researching this case, I read in a few places that their drug of choice was meth. But it said that they use needles and they shoot up their drugs. I didn't know you could shoot up meth. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Kerry and one of her friends named Cheryl found out one day that Irene supposedly had hepatitis, and they were absolutely pissed because they shared needles with Irene. So her anger toward Irene was just growing and growing and growing. Kerry heard from another friend of hers that Irene was saying that she was afraid that Kerry was going to kill her, so she decided that she was going to carry around a knife, and if it came to it, she was going to kill Kerry first. On June 26, 1988, Kerry and Irene got into a fight, and Kerry ended up tying Irene to a chair. Kerry, her boyfriend Mark, Cheryl, and then some guy named George. They keep talking about a guy named George. Nothing has ever been found about a guy named George. I think that he's possibly made up just to help with getting them out of trouble. I'm not really sure. But I don't think George exists because they talk about him a lot and there is no proof that George ever existed. Anyways, they all agreed that they were going to have to kill Irene. So while she was tied up on the chair, Kerry went and she got a syringe and she filled this syringe with battery acid. And Kerry plunged it into Irene's leg. It didn't hit a vein, so it didn't kill her right away, but could you just imagine how bad it probably burned to have battery acid just floating around in your leg? After injecting Irene with this battery acid, they grabbed a cast iron skillet and they started beating Irene all over her body, shattering multiple bones. Then they used wires and they electrocuted her. But they weren't done there. Kerry's boyfriend, Mark, took out a screwdriver and he started stabbing Irene multiple times. And when he had enough of that, he went and he grabbed a kitchen knife and then he stabbed her a few more times. And unfortunately, this did kill Irene. While Kerry and Cheryl were cleaning up the blood that was in the kitchen from Irene's murder, Mark and George took Irene's body, put it in their truck. They drove it out to a Native American reservation. They began dismembering Irene's body, and each of the body parts was buried in a different hole somewhere on the reservation. I think the reason that they would have chosen the reservation to dismember and bury Irene's body is because I think that on Native American reservations, they have their own set of law enforcement. I don't really think that outside police or agents get involved with reservation crime too much. They do if they have to, but I think for the most part, they pretty much just, the res deals with things on their own. I could be wrong, but that's why I think they took Irene there. But Irene's murder was carried out in a woman named Joanne's trailer. When Joanne came home that day, she found Kerry and Cheryl cleaning up the kitchen floor, and she was really confused. She also found a bloody pillowcase and a bloody screwdriver, so when she asked the girls, "What is going on?" Kerry said, "Oh, I got into a fight with Irene and she took off. We made a mess. She kind of was bleeding a little bit, so I'm just cleaning it up for you." So immediately Joanne thought that something was not right about this situation. She was like, there's something wrong here. They wouldn't be doing this stuff for no reason. Then Mark and George come in, and apparently they are covered in dust and dirt and blood, and this really freaked Joanne out. So as soon as all four of the murderers left, Joanne called the police. But when the police arrived, the police did not believe anything that Joanne was saying because they couldn't obviously see a murder scene because the girls had cleaned it up. And they also said that they noticed that Joanne was definitely on drugs and she was acting crazy and paranoid. So they left. They didn't believe her. After disposing of the murder weapons, the four killers, Kerry, Mark, Cheryl, and George, hid out in a cheap motel. Irene had 3 children, but she was divorced from the father, and because of the drug addiction, she actually got her kids taken away by CPS. But she was working really hard to get her children back, staying in constant communication with CPS. So once CPS noticed that they couldn't get in contact with her, they called the police and they reported her missing. It is so sad that CPS had to notice that this woman was missing, and that's how it was reported. And for the next 3 to 4 years, the police continued to search for Irene's body, but they never found it. Joanne informed police who the people were that were in her trailer the day that Irene was killed. In 1992, they bring in Kerry, Mark, and Cheryl for questioning. And Cheryl was the first to crack. Cheryl started telling police everything that happened that day. Then when they talked to Mark, Mark started verifying parts of Cheryl's story. But Kerry, she always remained innocent. Her story was, I'm innocent. I'm innocent. I have nothing to do with this. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. And they were all charged with murder. In 1995, Kerry was sentenced to the death penalty. Mark was charged with first-degree murder, and he served 25 years. Cheryl was charged with second-degree murder, and she was sentenced to 15 years. And George doesn't exist. He's nowhere to be found. Never found anybody that could have been. I don't know if he's fake or not. It just seems really weird that these people keep talking about, oh, George this, George that, and nothing was ever found of him. But here's the crazy twist in this case. It is known that it is possible that none of this actually happened. So you have all 3 of these people, well, except for Kerry, because Kerry still claims that she's innocent, but you have multiple people who aren't in the murder group that are going to police and they're saying, Kerry told me she did this to Irene. Mark did this, so there's people on the outside that know the exact details of what they did that day. But Irene's ex-husband claims that he saw Irene a month after she was supposedly murdered. Now, police went to Joanne's trailer multiple times and they did find some blood spatter, but they said that there was such a little amount that they couldn't come up with any DNA. And apparently the police officers in this town in California, oh, by the way, it takes place in, I think Oak Springs, California. Sorry about that. I got a little carried away with the whole syringe and acid thing. That's fucking crazy. But apparently the police officers in this town were known for being absolutely just terrible cops. They dismissed all kinds of stuff. They didn't do their jobs when they were supposed to. Like, apparently they were just shitty ass cops. People think that the police had something to do with, like, setting this up, and Irene never existed. Irene has never been found. So that is a proven fact. They've searched the reservation. They can't find a single piece of her. The ex-husband claims he saw her a month after she was supposedly murdered. She did vanish, so people are just really confused as of why none of the bodies been found, and they all say it's like a conspiracy so that the police can make themselves look better because they caught killers. Kerry still claims her innocence. I did hear or read in one article that she's trying to fight it, and she's trying to get her death sentence reduced to life in prison. It has been said that Kerry's cellmate in prison claims that she did confess to doing this murder. I think it probably actually happened. I mean, I think the whole reach of police conspiracy, that's kind of far-fetched for me. I don't really believe it. I do believe that Irene was murdered. I do think that these 3 people did it. I don't think it was 4. I think George is just probably like they added him in the story so that maybe they could use him as like the pawn. They were just gonna dump everything off on him so that maybe he got in trouble. I don't know. It's such an interesting case. When I came across this case online, I was like, holy shit. There's really not a whole lot of information that I can add in. So it is a short video, but it was crazy. I had to tell you guys. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I hope to see you guys next time. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you later. Bye!